My girlfriend said, "I don't love you anymore, get out of my house." I replied, "Okay." Then my lawyer sent her an invoice for the $50,000 in renovations I did on her home. She was left frantically screaming on the phone that I was suing her. Was a man who believed in building a finance manager by trade, so planning is in my blood. Timelines, budgets, deliverables, I find comfort in the ordered progression of things. For the last 4 years, that project was a life with my girlfriend, Stephanie, 30. A year and a half ago, she bought a house. It was all her name on the deed, her mortgage. I was immensely proud. The place was a fixer-upper, a good bones kind of disaster, but it was in the perfect neighborhood. "This is it, Timothy," she'd said, her eyes shining. "This is the house we'll grow old in." We made a deal. I had a significant inheritance from my grandparents, just over $50,000. She had the mortgage but was cash poor after the down payment. The plan was simple. I would fund the renovations, and my sweat equity would be my contribution. We weren't married, so I insisted we do it right. It felt pessimistic at the time, but my job is to plan for contingencies. We had a lawyer draft a simple but specific cohabitation agreement. It stipulated that if we were to sell the property or separate, she would reimburse me for the full value of the materials and my contracted labor, which we agreed upon at a very generous friends and family rate. We then had it formally signed in front of a notary. It was a safety net, a piece of paper we filed away, thinking we'd never need it. Love makes you stupid. For the next year, that house was my entire life. I'm not talking about a few coats of paint. I gutted the kitchen myself. We're talking new custom cabinets, $18,000, quartz countertops, $7,500, and high-end appliances. I tore the master bathroom down to the studs, retiled the entire thing with that expensive porcelain she wanted, installed a walk-in shower with a rainfall head. I spent 2 months of weekends landscaping the backyard, building a deck, and planting a garden. My hands were constantly raw. My back always ached. But when I'd see her smiling, watching from the new kitchen window, it felt worth it. The total cost of materials alone came to $52,850. I kept every single receipt. I document everything. It's what I do. Then, about 3 months ago, things started to cool. The I love yous became mechanical. She started working late more often, networking events, she'd say. I noticed a new name popping up in her texts, Edward. When I asked, he was just a work friend. I'm not the jealous type, but I am observant. I notice patterns. I notice when someone angles their phone away from you when it buzzes. The conversation happened last Tuesday. I came home from work and she was sitting on the sofa, her hands clasped. The air was thick. There was no preamble, no "we need to talk." She just said it. "I don't love you anymore, Timothy. I think you need to leave." I looked around the living room, at the reclaimed wood mantelpiece I installed, at the freshly painted walls. At her, a stranger sitting in the middle of my life's work. My heart didn't break. It just stopped. It was a switch being flipped. The pain was immense, a cold, heavy thing that settled in my gut, but my mind went strangely quiet, methodical. I didn't yell. I didn't cry or beg. I just looked at her and said, "Okay." Her face faltered for a second. I think she was expecting a scene, a fight, something to justify her position, to paint me as hysterical. She didn't get it. "Okay," she repeated, confused. "Yes, okay, this is your house. I'll be out by the end of the weekend." I went upstairs and started packing my clothes, calmly. I could hear her on the phone downstairs, her voice a hushed, excited whisper. "He's taking it so well," I heard her say. I'm sure she was talking to Edward. I spent the next 2 days packing my life into boxes. She barely spoke to me. On Saturday morning, a guy in a ridiculously expensive-looking suit showed up. It was Edward. He didn't even have the decency to wait until I was gone. He stood there, appraising the kitchen, and said, "Wow, Stephanie, you did an amazing job with this place." He left his muddy Adidas sneakers on the new rug by the door. I finished packing, loaded my car, and left her the keys on the counter. I didn't say goodbye. The first thing I did Monday morning wasn't look for an apartment. It was a phone call to a lawyer my firm keeps on retainer. I explained the situation, forwarded her the agreement and the folder from my cloud drive containing a detailed spreadsheet. Every receipt was scanned, every expense was dated, every hour of my labor was logged. There were before and after photos with timestamps. My lawyer, Rebecca, was silent for a moment after reviewing everything. Then she just said, "Oh, he's a planner. This is beautiful." On Tuesday, exactly 1 week after she'd told me to leave, Rebecca sent a registered letter to Stephanie. It contained a formal demand for payment of $52,850 for materials, plus a separate invoice for the contracted labor we'd agreed upon, totaling just over $75,000. It also included a copy of the agreement we both signed. My phone rang 2 hours after the courier service confirmed delivery. It was Stephanie. She wasn't calm. "You're suing me?" she screamed, her voice shrill with panic. "Timothy, what the hell is this? Are you insane?" I held the phone away from my ear. "I'm not suing you, Stephanie. I'm invoicing you, as per our written agreement. You ended our partnership, so the clause is triggered. It's simple business." "Business? We were in love. I can't believe you'd do this. This is my house. You can't take my house." "I'm not. I'm just asking to be reimbursed for the money I invested in it. The money you promised me back." "I don't have that kind of money. You know that," she shrieked. "You're trying to ruin me, all because I fell out of love with you?" Edward was right. You're a cold, vindictive bastard. I took a slow breath. The cold, heavy thing in my gut shifted. It wasn't just pain anymore. It was resolve. "You have 30 days to respond, Stephanie. After that, Rebecca will be filing a lien against the property. Talk to your lawyer. If you even have one. Have a good day." I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from anger. It was the quiet, humming satisfaction of a well-executed plan being set into motion. Update 1. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. For anyone following along, thanks for the support. It's grounding. To answer a few questions. No, we don't have kids, thank God. And yes, the agreement is rock solid. Rebecca called it beautifully straightforward. Stephanie's response came via a lawyer she scraped up from somewhere. His letter was full of bluster and emotional language. It cited emotional distress and claimed the agreement was signed under duress of being in a romantic relationship, which is legally laughable. It proposed a settlement, a goodwill payment of $5,000, and for me to cease all contact. Rebecca and I had a good chuckle over that. We responded by rejecting her offer and restating our original demand, attaching a draft of the property lien we were prepared to file. That's when Stephanie and Edward switched tactics. If the legal route was a dead end, they were going to try social warfare. It started with our mutual friends. My phone started buzzing with texts. "Hey man, heard what happened. Seems pretty harsh to go after her house." Another read, "Stephanie is a wreck, dude. She said you're trying to make her homeless." They were launching a full-scale smear campaign, painting me as a scorned, money-grubbing ex. I lost 2 friends I thought were close. That part stung, I won't lie. My first instinct was to defend myself, to fire back with my own version of events. But that's a messy, emotional fight. It's not my style. Instead, I drafted a single, calm email. I sent it to a small group of about 10 people who I truly considered my friends. The subject was simple. Just for your information. The email was brief. It said, "I know you're probably hearing things. I'm not going to badmouth Stephanie. I just want you to have the facts. We signed a legal document before any renovation began to protect my financial investment in her property. That investment totaled over $50,000 from my inheritance. The agreement stipulated I would be repaid if we separated. She chose to end the relationship. I am now seeking repayment as we agreed. That's all there is to it. I've attached a non-sensitive copy of the agreement for your reference. Hope you're well." No emotion, no accusations, just facts. The effect was immediate. 2 of the people who had sent me critical texts called to apologize. "She told us you were just trying to get half the house's value," one said. "She conveniently left out the part about your inheritance and the contract." Meanwhile, the petty stuff started. I realized she was still using my premium Spotify account, so I logged all devices out and changed the password. The family plan now consists of me, my sister, and my dad. He's really getting into 80s synth pop. Then my mail started being returned to sender. A quick online form with the post office set up permanent mail forwarding. Problem solved. The real escalation came last Friday night. I'm staying in a short-term furnished rental. At 9 p.m., there was a pounding on my door. I looked through the peephole, and there they were. Stephanie and Edward. She looked frantic, her face pale and blotchy. He looked furious, ready for a fight. I opened the door just a crack. Stephanie, you were instructed to communicate through my lawyer. I am not paying you $75,000, Timothy, she said, trying to push the door open. I held it firm. Edward stepped forward, puffing out his chest. He was taller than me, but softer. You need to back off, man, he said, trying to sound intimidating. You're harassing her. We can get a restraining order. On what grounds? I asked, my voice level. For asking for my money back? You're on private property. Please leave. This is insane, Stephanie said, her voice breaking. I loved you. I gave you 4 years of my life, and you're reducing it to an invoice? This was the moment. The brief flicker of vulnerability. For a second, her words hit a nerve. The pain was still there, raw and real. I did love her. I thought we were building a forever. But then I looked at Edward, standing beside her, his hand on her back, and the cold resolve washed back in. You gave me 4 years? I replied, my voice dangerously quiet. I spent a year of that time breaking my back to build your dream house with my grandfather's money. The home you are currently living in with him. So don't talk to me about what was given. You have been served a legal document. If you continue to show up here, I will be the one calling the police. Now get off my doorstep. I closed the door and locked it. I leaned against it, my heart pounding. I took out my phone, where I had been recording the entire exchange. My state is a one-party consent state for recording conversations. I emailed the file to Rebecca with the subject line, "For your records, they violated the no contact request." Her reply came 10 minutes later. They are so stupid. This helps us immensely. Get some sleep. Sleep didn't come easy, but the satisfaction did. They aren't methodical, they're hysterical. And they're building my case for me, one dumb mistake at a time. Update 2. The plot, as they say, thickens. And the antagonists, as you might expect, get dumber. After their little uninvited visit, Rebecca sent their lawyer a sharply worded letter. It mentioned the harassment, the recording of said harassment, and the fact that his client was violating the very legal channel he'd insisted upon. His response was notably more subdued this time. All communication would now be strictly formal. They were feeling the pressure. Then Stephanie did something truly desperate and monumentally stupid. I got a call from a detective with the local police department. He was very professional. "Sir, we're investigating a report of theft filed by a Miss Stephanie Benson. She alleges that when you moved out, you took several high-value items that belonged to her." My blood ran cold for a second. He listed the items: a specific brand of smart TV, a designer coffee table, and a set of antique lamps. I took a breath. "Detective," I said, "I have a feeling I can clear this up for you very quickly. Can I email you some documents?" He gave me his email address. I went back to my cloud drive, to the folder labeled Move Out. Before I packed the last box, I had walked through that entire house with my phone, taking a detailed video inventory of everything I was taking. I narrated it as I went. Taking the 65-inch television model number XYZ, purchased by me on May 12, 2023. Here is the receipt. In the video, I literally held the receipt from my files up to the camera. I did this for every single significant item I owned. The coffee table, the lamps, my tools, everything. I had also kept the original receipts for all those items, which were in a separate subfolder. I zipped the video file and the receipt folder and sent them to the detective. I also included the original demand letter from my lawyer to provide context for the situation, highlighting that this accusation only came after she was asked to pay me a large sum of money. I got a call back an hour later. The detective sounded tired. "Mr. Hayes," he said, "thank you for your thoroughness. I think it's safe to say this case is closed. Have a good day." Filing a false police report is a crime. Rebecca advised against pressing charges. It would be a distraction, but the fact that the report now exists and was proven false is another beautiful piece of evidence of her malicious intent. Now for Edward, the smug, suit-wearing consultant. I did a little digging. It wasn't hard. His full name was on the letter from Stephanie's lawyer. He was CC'd. A quick search led me to his LinkedIn profile. A big, prestigious financial firm. He had a picture of himself and Stephanie on his profile. They were on the deck I built. His caption, "Enjoying the view from our new home with the love of my life, blessed king of the castle." The entitlement was staggering. He was using the very house at the center of a legal dispute as a prop for his professional brand. I didn't engage with him directly. That's not the play. The play is to let the system do the work. I sent a carefully worded, anonymous email to the general HR and compliance address listed on his company's website. Subject: Potential Code of Conduct, Reputational Risk Inquiry. To whom it may concern, I am writing to bring a potential issue of concern to your attention regarding one of your employees, Mr. Edward Vance. He is publicly representing a property as his new home on professional networking sites like LinkedIn. Please be advised that this specific property is currently the subject of a significant legal dispute, including a pending property lien related to fraudulent claims over renovation funds. The owner, Ms. Stephanie Benson, is also involved in a now dismissed police investigation for filing a false report related to the property. An association with such a contentious and potentially fraudulent situation could present a reputational risk to your firm's integrity. I am merely providing this information so that your organization has full awareness of the situation Mr. Edward Vance has involved himself in. Sincerely, a concerned party. I attached the screenshot, a redacted copy of the lien notice, and the case number from the dismissed police report. I sent it from a new, anonymous email address and then deleted the account. The effect wasn't instantaneous, but it was decisive. Within a few days, Edward's entire LinkedIn profile was scrubbed. The picture, the hashtag, all of it. He was clearly trying to hide the evidence after the fact. Then, about 2 weeks after that, I heard the news through the grapevine. It came from Stephanie's older brother, George. I'd always liked him. He called me out of the blue, sounding exhausted. "Timothy," he said, "I don't even know what to say. I'm so sorry." "George, what's going on?" "My parents are at their wits' end. Stephanie is a wreck. I just found out the full story. A friend of ours you'd sent that email to finally showed me the contract. Stephanie told us you were just trying to steal the house." He sighed, a heavy, weary sound. "And that Edward character? He's gone. Apparently he lost his job over this whole mess and dropped her like a hot rock. She's telling everyone he abandoned her, but from what I can piece together, he was just a rat leaving a sinking ship." And there it is. Her social pressure campaign completely reversed. Her own family knows the truth. Her new man is gone, a casualty of his own arrogance, and she's legally cornered. The walls are closing in, and I didn't have to raise my voice once. Final update. It's been 4 months since I packed up my life and walked out of that house. I'm writing this from my own apartment, a place I chose and furnished myself. It's smaller, but it's peaceful. It's mine. The final act didn't happen in a dramatic courtroom showdown. It was far more banal and, in a way, more brutal. It happened in a sterile, beige mediation room. Stephanie was forced into mediation by her lawyer, who clearly knew she was about to get steamrolled in court. She sat across the table from me, next to her lawyer. She looked thin and tired. The defiant anger was gone, replaced by a sullen, hollowed-out bitterness. She wouldn't make eye contact. Rebecca laid out our case with cold, surgical precision. The lawyer drafted agreement, the spreadsheet with every single receipt, the photos, the video inventory from my move-out, the harassing voicemail, the recording of their visit to my apartment, the dismissed police report. It was an avalanche of facts, and Stephanie was buried under it. Her lawyer tried his best, feebly arguing about the emotional context, but the mediator, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, wasn't having it. She looked at Stephanie's lawyer and said, "Counselor, emotionally, this is a tragedy. Legally, it's an ironclad contract. Your client is going to lose, and if this goes to court, she'll be paying Mr. Bird Hayes' legal fees on top of everything else." She then turned to Stephanie. "Ma'am, your options are limited. You can either agree to a settlement today, or you can have a judge order you to do the same thing in a few months after spending thousands more on legal costs." That's when Stephanie finally broke. She started crying, a quiet, defeated kind of crying. "I don't have the money," she whispered. "I can't afford it." The mediator looked at her paperwork. "You have a home with significant equity, thanks in large part to the very renovations you're being asked to pay for. You have assets." The endgame became brutally clear. To pay me back, she had to sell the house. The house she kicked me out of. The house she chose over me. The house she brought Edward into. Her lawyer negotiated. We agreed to waive the additional labor costs if she agreed to the full $52,850 for materials and signed a sale agreement within 30 days. It was a mercy I didn't need to offer, but I wanted it to be over. I just wanted to be done with her. She signed. The house went on the market 2 weeks later. With the new kitchen, bathroom, and landscaping, it sold in 4 days for $120,000 more than she paid for it. After the mortgage and closing costs were paid, the remaining funds went into an escrow account. From there, my lawyer was paid and a check for $52,850 was cut to me. The fallout was complete. Edward is long gone, a footnote in this mess he helped create. According to her brother George, Stephanie is renting a small apartment in a less desirable part of town. She had to sell most of her new furniture to cover her legal bills and security deposit. Their friend group is fractured. Most of them saw the truth and distanced themselves from her. Her family is helping her, but their relationship is strained. She remains bitter, convinced that I am the villain who actively ruined her life. She will never see that her own choices, her entitlement, and her betrayal were the architects of her downfall. I was just the one who sent the invoice for services rendered. Last week, I deposited the check. It felt quiet. There was no triumphant fist pump, no surge of victory. It was the calm, clean feeling of a project finally being closed, a loose end being tied up. The money is just money. I'm putting it towards a down payment on my own place. A condo, maybe. Nothing that needs renovating. The pain of the betrayal is still there some days, a faint scar that reminds me to be more careful with my heart. But it no longer dictates my actions. I didn't get revenge. Revenge is a hot, messy, emotional act. What I did was colder. It was an audit. I simply presented the facts and let the consequences unfold naturally. I let the system work. I'm moving forward. I'm dating again, slowly. I'm focusing on my career. And sometimes, when I'm sitting in my quiet, peaceful apartment, I think about that beautiful kitchen I built, and I smile, because I know I have the skills to build it again. But next time, it will be for me.